Welcome to the Outstanding Webinar Series, recorded live sessions with guests from around the globe. In each episode, we'll be exploring the outstanding world of outdoor hospitality. Subscribe at outstandingtent.com/webinar.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar with topics on the exciting world of outdoor hospitality. We'll be exploring the industry's trends, challenges, and greatest opportunities, and some inspiring stories and lessons learned from some really great people from around the world. My name is Kelly Vermeijs, and I'm working at Outstanding Safari Tents. We are an international manufacturer of extraordinary glamping tents, designed to deliver an outstanding guest experience. Robin van Kooten, our owner, the founder of Outstanding, couldn't join us today as he and his wife just got a baby. So congratulations, Robin, and we look forward to having you back soon. Today, we are with more than 100 participants, coming from all over the world, from Israel, Kenya, Indonesia, all over from Europe, South America, the United States, and many more. Once again, welcome everyone. I'm happy to hand it over to Jason from the United States to introduce our special and very inspiring guest.
Thanks, Kaylee. And I've been looking forward to this. We're all in very different parts of the world, with Kaylee in the Netherlands, Igor in Istria, Croatia, and myself near San Francisco in the United States. I'm excited to introduce our guest, Igor Arnold, who's currently a board member of Adriatic-Kamp. Igor started his business a little more than 20 years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, completely from scratch, which is now under the Vacanceselect umbrella, which has about 31,000 units under it across Europe. So really starting from scratch and building up to the point of the acquisition or merger, which we'll get into in a little bit. What a story. Igor, I'm excited to have you, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, Jason. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me here. And I really hope that I will be able to transfer a part of my experiences, and you are more or less right. My touristic, let's say, experience in business started somewhere in '93. So it's 27 years ago. And with the camping tourism and the camping industry, I was actually started somewhere in '98, so it's more than 22 years ago. So,
as far as schedule, I want to get into your story. We'll kind of get into the business model of glamping, some of the details. We tried to wrap in some of the interesting questions that we've received from the audience so far. We'll save Q&A for the end. We'll try to save some time for that. There's a Q&A or chat bar at the bottom. You can put your questions in there of anything you'd like us to address, and we'll save those for the end. But right now, kind of going from no experience in the outdoor hospitality industry to going to being part of one of the largest or the largest tour operators in Europe. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you got started? What was the beginning of this? And the interesting twist is kind of looking at your background. I understand you started out actually studying medicine in university. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this could be maybe interesting for some people or maybe future entrepreneurs who would like to start this kind of business, because actually 20 or more years ago, none of this was happening. Actually, there were no glamping industry, and the camping industry even was at its beginnings in Europe. But yeah, I was studying medicine, but I was studying medicine actually in one state, which was ex-Yugoslavia, And when I graduated, the war started, and so actually I didn't have much solutions to do. I was just trying to do something else, to imagine some new kind of work, and actually I started a new business in a new country, which is practically newborn Croatia. And let's say during the afterwar years, there was some kind of new opportunities and the new, let's say, type of markets were opening, and the new ideas were opening and going on. So let's say my idea was to start to work in tourism, which is because we are living in the area. when the tourism had already quite a long tradition. And okay, in the war period, there was not so many going on, but let's say it was a new start for a lot of new companies, and we were thinking to do something new and something else.
So let me make sure I'm getting this straight. So you finished university, you study medicine, you're in the middle of a war, and or tail end of a war, and you're starting a tourism business. How does this idea come into your mind? Or how do you actually? What were the other options, and why did you choose this?
It sounds crazy, okay, but okay. To be honest, I have some capital. I was also at the time working in Italy, and when I was coming back, it was a matter of choice what to do. So I had a really good friend, and which was already introduced in the touristic business, and he called me actually to join. We had a strength, let's say, in speaking languages, you know, because he was very good in German. I was speaking quite fluently English, German, Slovenian, Croatian, whatever, and then. So that was the basic, and we opened like a small touristic agency. We started like a tour operator, which is growing through the years. And actually, the turnovers that time were really slow, but they're not much tourists coming into Croatia, you know. But we were small, but we were quite fast. We were adapting to the new situations, and we managed to grow, and to at one point to be between 5 top incoming agencies for Croatia. So it took a while. So it took maybe 5, 6, 7 years to do that. But and with a strong effort, working 24 hours, 7 days, and so on. But we did it, and. But we work mostly in the services, and we were selling capacities in hotels and apartments. So the campings were not still on our horizon at that time, but they were slowly coming in. Why? Because the tour operators, which were trying to come to the Croatia, they were still afraid to open any kind of business in the camping tourism. Because if they wanted to do that, they had to invest something like in capacities like tents or mobile homes, whatever. And they were quite afraid, and still logically, the Croatia was not inside the European Union. We were a separated country, you know, 1/3 was destroyed from the war. We were just gathering together. We were trying to make new laws, new regulations, you know, and so on. And it was quite a newborn democracy. So I just logically understand the people who wanted to come in, and they were afraid.
So
but
what
then
was?
Yeah,
go ahead. I'd love to hear that first site when you first started getting into what really is glamping. Okay.
I was just coming to that. So, but I will try to make it shorter. In the year '98, there was a first. Let's say I have to say the first, the most courageous tour operator, which was British, you know, and the Brits go everywhere, so they don't care. So. And they inserted 30 bungalow tents, and they imported it to Croatia. You know, in the year '98, and the first campsite was called Adriatic-Kamp in Porridge, in the city nearby when I'm living. And we started to make a service for this company. You know. After that, just to make it shorter, the other tour operators came. They started to build mobile homes and so on. And at a certain point, I opened also a factory to build mobile homes in the year 2000. And I was there a CEO and a partner for 7 years until 2007. And then after 2007, together with 2 partners from Croatia, we opened Adriatic-Kamp as a tour operator. Okay.
So in the beginning, you were selling services to glamping and other outdoor hospitality or hospitality-related industries. Were you then filling those rooms? What was the nature of your business then?
Yeah. We were selling Croatian capacities around mostly Europe. Okay, so we were like an incoming agency, and we had quite, let's say, a wide network of partners, which were sending us guests through this network from Germany, from Britain, from Slovenia, from Austria, Italy, and so on. So yeah, let's say one point we had 35, 40,000 guests coming in every season. But the glamping was still again not on the site. So the campings actually worked only with mobile homes.
I see.
And the first time that I heard the word glamping was actually on the Camping Congress in Croatia. So we had a yearly Camping Congress, which is held from the Croatian Camping Union.
What year was this?
That was 2009.
2009, the first mention of the word glamping.
That was the first mention of the word glamping, yeah. And actually, it was a Dutch presenter in Netherlands, very known person. His name was Ramon van Reyne, and he was actually presenting this new way of glamping, which actually means glamorous camping, you know. And he's actually the owner of the agency or tour operator, which is called Suncamp, Sun Lodge, are their products. And they one of the first which started with this glamorous, really nice, exclusive glamping tents, and which they started to mount throughout Europe.
So meanwhile, you're operating your mobile home manufacturing business.
At the year 2007, no, I changed my position from being a mobile home producer to being a tour operator, which has in ownership the mobile homes which were rented to the clients.
Okay, so you were a service provider in the very beginning. Yes. You got into the
manufacturing
side.
Yeah, we were already, that time we were already owners of the mobile homes. In 2009, I think we had around 190 mobile homes in 7-8 campsites in Croatia at that time. So it was quite a big Croatian-owned company, you know, because at the time the only tour operators were only foreign investors, which came with their tents and mobile homes.
So you got to know the business from being a supplier.
I didn't understand. Sorry.
So you learned how the business works from being a supplier.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That was the major point. Actually, at that point, I learned when I was producing what kind of products the clients and the guests actually would like to have. Okay, so that was the major idea. And when we started to work as a tour operator in this tour operating business, I knew exactly what kind of product I would like to have on the field. So, and it was something that was like a middle high or a higher range, you know, of accommodation.
Okay.
You know, with the better facilities and the bigger units and things like that.
So was this, you're in the industry, you see everything operating, you're a supplier, and you identify, hey, this something here could be better, or I know exactly what this is. Was that a pursuit of passion, or was that a business, you saw a business opportunity, which, you know, or was there a balance?
Listen, without passion, you cannot do anything, you know, but it's actually, yeah, but you know, the fact was we were creating something new, you know, before the year 2000.
It was exciting.
Yeah, exactly. We were not copying something, or you know, so we were just inventing something new, because every year that every new season, the producers as a supplier, as I said, but also later on as a owner and tour operator, we were inventing something new to be more attractive, you know. Mm-hmm. So and we were making, I don't know, bigger units with a higher level of facility. We were putting in, I don't know, air conditions, bigger beds, you know, hair dryers, even dishwashers, things like that. So everything that makes the clients inside more comfortable, you know, mm-hmm. And that they will have, that these products will have a higher level of activity to the client. So that, and you know, and this is something that every year gives you a new motivation to go on, to give them something new, to give them better experience and things like that.
Can you talk a little bit about, I mean, hospitality is usually it's an aspirational product. You want to go somewhere that is nicer than your house, or is special in some way. So at the very beginning, when all of this is sort of occurring and glamping the word has been spoken and people are starting to create this new industry, what was the dance between the kind of demand drivers, the actual customers showing up the door that wanted glamping, and the supply of glamping opportunities out there?
You know, there is like a cruel I have to say it's a cruel truth, you know. It's a cruel fact that we are selling, actually, when we are speaking about figures and money, we are selling a bed, okay? So the empty bed is zero and the full bed is a plus, okay? But from the other side, the bed and the accommodation itself, it's nothing. So you can have a golden bed, a golden bathroom, you know, with I don't know, and the clients will not come. So you have to offer them something else. You have to offer them some kind of experience. You have to offer them some kind of feelings, you know. So everything goes. And exactly when we are saying come to us, you know, we are offering you, but what we are not offering you only the accommodation. It has to be the whole package. This is what we were also trying to learn the campsite owners. Okay. So I cannot put a glamping tent or mobile home somewhere in the field without any facilities, okay? So you have to have something. Or you will have an exclusive location for a glamping tent, which then you have direct view, or you are just a few meters from the sea or from the lake or whatever, and you are just in the middle of nowhere, only in the nature with the rabbits around or something like that. Or if you are in an organized place like a campsite, okay? So you are, and with the children especially and so on. So you would like to have some other facilities as well, like swimming pools, you know, like aqua parks, like, I don't know, animation, people who are, you know, some music, some, you know, restaurants, bars, whatever. So all the things should be, let's say, leveled up to the level of the accommodation. You know what I mean? So
that's what
this is important. Yeah.
Is that what created things that they were new and fresh? I mean, the beginning of glamping, you had clients that were learning what glamping was, maybe staying in a tent somewhere that they didn't have to put up themselves was exciting, but very soon they're not going to keep coming back. Is that when the amenities come in, or how does that evolution happen where it's a new idea, they come, but now you have clients that come back every year or every season or multiple times? What is that? Exactly. What keeps them coming?
Well, the idea of the glamping tent is actually coming from Africa and Middle East. You know, it's not that the Europeans invented that, or you know, because if you remember the movies, but you're too young. But if you remember the Lawrence of Arabia with Omar Sharif, it's an old movie. I'm also too young for that. But lately you have the movie with Tom Hanks. It's a Hologram for the King. You remember that? So you can see the really, really exclusive tent, you know, from the king that's living in, you know. So that's the idea of this really exclusive glamping or whatever safari tents, which we took, and that's actually the experience what we want to give to the client. But from the other side, you said when you are speaking about basic camping, the first idea comes. The young guy with the beard, I don't know, with the curly hair and with backpack, you know, and he's walking around. He doesn't even have a car. He's just, you know, hitchhiking, and then goes from the campsite to the campsite, just putting his small belt tent and just sleeping overnight, you know, in how you call it, the bag or whatever. Mm-hmm. That concept, okay, is still alive. But to be honest, from that concept to the glamping, it's a universe in between. Okay,
so that makes sense.
It's something completely different, and logically from the small belt tent to the bungalow tent, which is again some kind of business, because logically the first tents which were offered to the clients were quite basic. They were quite okay. They were, let's say, tents with 2 bedrooms and with small kitchenette, you know, and a small fridge, without toilet, without water. It just had one light bulb, you know, and things like that. They were quite basic, but, you know, the people like them because they don't have to carry everything with themselves, you know, in the car, you know, these big packages and so whatever. And they usually took 2 days to mount the thing, and then, you know, they were staying for 5 days, and then after they had 2 days to demount everything. So the basic of the business that you provide the accommodation which is already ready. It's cleaned up, you know, you have somebody there who's waiting for you on the reception, and you can ask him for everything. So, you know, so this is how this business started actually. And then But then with the competition and everything else, the tour operator were starting to invent something more. So they said, okay, the bungalow tent is staying on the ground. You know, you only have a plastic sheet. Why we shouldn't, when it's raining, everything is wet. You know, you have mud inside and things. Why we don't put it on the basement or the wooden basement? It's much nicer. Okay, so it's raining, and the other one, it's in the mud, but I'm not, because I'm, you know, 20 centimeters from the ground, and I'm feeling, you know, it's already luxury feeling. Okay. So, and then the next step was, okay, why don't make such a bungalow tent with the wooden floor, but with the toilet inside, you know, because the people are going to the toilet, sanitary blocks, you know, which could be far away, and they are maybe dirty, or, you know, especially nowadays, people are, you know, afraid of bacteria, viruses, whatever.
Or it's the middle of the night.
Yeah, and especially in the middle of the night, you can meet some nice bear and you know, walking around or something. So, so yeah, the next step was actually bungalow tent with the toilet inside, and then from that point it started to develop. Okay, logically, if you want to install a tent like that, you need also infrastructure. So the campsite owner should prepare the infrastructure for that kind of tent.
So this is incredibly different from a lot of other parts of the world. I mean, in the United States, I think we're, as a country, when it comes to glamping, we're just figuring out how to put canvas tent out in the forest and get people to it with nice pillows. That's our state of glamping in the United States. To have bathrooms and kitchens and all of these things is sort of unheard of. It may exist, but I haven't found it yet. But I think it will exist. Can you describe what a full-featured glamping experience is in one of your resorts right now?
Yeah, because actually we have so we started with the glamping tents actually in 2012. That was the 4 glamping tents that we installed. A
basic tent, no bathroom.
No. That was a real proper glamping tent.
Okay, wow.
You have to remember, I was a mobile home operator. Okay, so we had mobile homes, and which already have a toilets and the kitchen and the airco and everything. And I didn't like, very honestly, I didn't like the tents anyway. You know, that was something that I was not preferring at all. But when the glamping tents came out, and together with the Dutch tour operator, we actually did this kind of joint venture. We installed 4 real proper glamping tents in Solaris in Šibenik, which is in Dalmatia, in one of the campsites, which we had already some mobile homes in, and we tested it for a few years just to see how they go. Okay, because it was also a new product for us, and we had to see all the issues which could come out of having a glamping tent installed. Mm-hmm. And, you know, because you know a mobile home, but you don't know how the glamping tent will react, especially with the winter time, the storm winds, the rain, you know, and all the other things that could happen. And they were really quite okay. So we restarted again a few years later, and we were buying several hundreds, you know, per year. So we were growing in that sector. So we now in Croatia have, I think we are at 44% of our total units, we are with the tents, and the rest is mobile homes. So we had a huge increase in the last 5 years of the glamping units.
Okay, and is that, I see Kaylee's brought up a slide here that shows one.
Yeah,
well,
this
something
is,
with many
this
amenities.
is one of the campsites actually, which, yeah, this is these are the part of Vacanceselect group, the ownership. So so we stopped when we had in ownership the Adriatic-Kamp, but in the year 2015 we joined a group, which is a French-owned group actually. It's called Vacanceselect. And this group is the biggest group actually in Europe, and you can see the figures here right now on the screen if you can see it. Maybe for the people who are only listening, so this group has 59 owned and owner-managed campsites. We have 31,000 placements, which means the accommodation units, and 2,000 employees. And we can accommodate 1.2 million million people. So it's the largest group in this sector in Europe. So yeah, actually we are present in 16 countries, but the most accommodation logically we have in France. But there are also accommodations in Portugal, Spain, Italy, Croatia, Austria, Netherlands as well. So we are quite a strong group. And I suggest to check the website, of the group, which is vacanceselect.com, and you can see all our facilities and all our accommodations in one place.
And just the spelling on this threw me off the first time I looked at it. It's VACANCESELECT.com.
Yeah, you have it here on the top. VACANCESELECT.com. Yeah, exactly.
So let's step through. We kind of piece by piece. So you're getting into glamping. It's sort of you're making mobile homes essentially. Manufacture these. You see the business model. You decide, hey, I can do this better. I can do something novel, unique. Let's get into this. You start this. How many sites do you get into, and how do you structure those first sites? Tell us about your first site.
Okay, first sites. In this business, but because let's say with some experience of tourism and of producing mobile homes, I saw the partners and the owners, which I don't know, they were buying 1, 2, or 3 or 5 units, and it was not really business wise. Okay, so, and we saw also at the other side the tour operators, which were English, German, whatever, Dutch, which were investing in this kind of accommodation. They were making and acquiring bigger figures, larger numbers. And so when we opened the Adriatic-Kamp company, we said we will not survive with 10 units and for the first year, and we started with 100.
And 10 units, you mean 10 tents or 10?
No, I'm talking about mobile homes.
Sorry.
I'm talking about mobile homes in 2007. But we started with 100 mobile homes in 2007 in
how many sites? Five
different campsites, 5 different locations on the northern part of Croatia. Also, the same thing we did with the glamping. So in 2015, when we started with the larger numbers of glamping tents, we started again with 100. Even we had some glamping tents before as a test, So we were testing them for a few years, and we saw, okay, this could be a business as well. And then again, in 1 year, we did 100 units.
So that's quite a leap of faith. You just jumped in the business.
From 0 to 700. Now in Croatia, we have over 1,200, which is 1,200. Am I right in English?
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
1,200 units in 16 campsites, and actually in Croatia we are the biggest private tour operator.
Yeah. So with that first step across, so you start with 5 sites, 100 units. How did you arrange the capital for that, and how do you convince people that, hey, this is a great idea? I've never actually operated this, but I want to do this. I want 100 units to start out with.
Yeah.
How do you put that together? Do you buy the land? Do you lease the land? What's the structure?
No, that's to buy land. It's very expensive. So, and it's not only buying the land, but you have to have the finished campsite. You cannot put the accommodation units. So it has to be like a registered proper campsite, and this is really expensive. When we were buying our units, we had a good business plan, and we had a good bank actually, which was following us, and which believed in our plan.
Was this a regional bank or a local bank?
Well, actually, it was a bank in Croatia, but it's not owned from the Croatians. It was actually Austrian.
Okay.
Austrian owned, but they believed in that because they already financed products or projects like this. So they believed in the product, and they believed in the business.
How did you find them?
Friends
okay.
and family.
Yes.
But it was just a leasing actually, So we invested some of our own capital, and we guaranteed with our own, let's say, ownership, what we had, real estates and things like that, to make a business grow. So we were in 3 partners, and actually invested all our ownership to make it happen.
Okay, so a personal guarantee, essentially.
Yeah, personal guarantees, okay. Exactly. But from the other side, we were also renting the pitches. So this is a business model where we are not ownerships of the land, okay? Mm-hmm. So we are renting the pitches in best quality campsites in Croatia. And that was also the idea, not to go to the simple campsite without facilities and so on. So we were only choosing the campsite with swimming pools, you know, with restaurants, with bars that I explained before, with nice beaches, with the sports centers, with the diving centers, and things like that, because we already knew what our clients will be.
So you brought an accommodation that you knew there were customers for to the amenities that already existed.
Yes.
This was the beginning.
Actually, we were listening to the market. So we were actually having also partners which were selling our accommodations, you know, and which were actually saying us what to do. In a way, you need to have this in the accommodation. You need to have, you know, it's sometimes for us it was a strange thing, you know, because they said, yeah, if you want me to sell your accommodation, you need to have a pizza slicer and a cheese slicer, you know, and I don't know what is a cheese slicer. I never saw something like that, but because the Dutch people, you know, which are coming to this accommodation are maybe even number one of our clients, they're cutting the cheese, you know, slicing the cheese, and they wanted to have that thing inside the accommodation, so we were forced to buy it, you know. Also the microwaves and I don't know, the toasters or the water you know, the water heaters and the coffee machines and the big grills, whatever. So it's something that the market was asking for, and we were providing it. And it's actually, you know, all right. It seems like a banality, but the others which were also investing in a similar accommodation, they didn't have it. So I think a part of our success was also because we were listening to this request of the market.
So why not do it all? You had already, at the beginning of your career in outdoor hospitality, you were filling units, you were selling the actual nights. Why did you step away from that when you were moved into the ownership side?
What do you think when we went to the group of
Vacanceselect,
or
when you grew to that point?
The idea was, okay, yes, it was 5 years ago actually when we joined the group. Well, the idea was to grow actually, because as a let's say tour operator from Croatia, you know, we had a limited strength, okay, to be present on the international market. So we were using partners as other tour operators which are selling our product. Mm-hmm. But to sell directly from Croatia, let's say to go to Amsterdam and say, okay, I have 100 very nice glamping tents in Croatia. Would you like to come? Not sure that everybody will come just like that, you know. So it's so we were really, and you have to invest a lot to be present, you know. So we were actually working with the top tour operators. We still are, and which were actually the best, you know, sellers on the specific markets in Germany, in Denmark, in Netherlands, you know, in Belgium, whatever. And that was our way of performing. But at one point we said, okay, if you want to grow more, and the idea was even to buy an own campsite, okay, which is a huge amount of money.
Yes.
It maybe it's not a bad, let's say, idea or a decision to join somebody which is bigger, stronger, and so on, and which can help us. So actually, we when we did that, we grew exponentially in the figures, you know, in the value of the company and in the number of accommodation. So I don't think it was a bad decision actually.
So is that due to you have a business model that works? You've proven it. You've had the customers. You have local knowledge in your country, which you have my numbers, you had about a 10% market share, approximately 10% market share in Croatia. So pretty good market share. So at that point, it was the access to additional capital, and that's that strength associated with the larger company that enabled you to grow. Is that just the next stage?
Yes, exactly. That's one of the let's say reasons. The other reason was actually that the campsites in Croatia, they saw what we are doing, the campsites owners. Not only us, but also the agencies like we are. So we had some logically partners, competitors, whatever. And they understood that this could be a good business also for them. Okay. So what they did, they actually invested in their own accommodation. So they bought glamping tents, they bought mobile homes, very exclusive. As they are owners of the campsite, so they can choose the position. So they actually mounted them on the best locations, nearby the sea, nearby the swimming pools and so on. And because they are not paying the pitch rent, so logically they can play with the prices and they can have higher margins. So you know what I mean. So if somebody wants to do this kind of business, so the best way is to have your own campsite. That's the first.
Yes.
If you are the owner of the campsite, then you are, let's say, in a better position than the agencies which have to pay you the pitch rent. So but it's also, but from the balance point of view, I'm speaking now as a campsite owner, for example. If you only want to have your own accommodation, it's also not going to work well for you. So you should have a balance. You should have a balance, like a part of your accommodation, a part of the tour operators and agencies. And if you are clever enough, you will choose the agencies which are not covering one market. You know what I mean? So you can choose a Dutch agency, you can choose a Croatian agency, you can choose an Austrian agency, then a Czech, and Italian one, and so on. So you will have clients in France, maybe. So you can have clients for all over the Europe, because these agencies, these tour operators, will work on their specific markets. They are much stronger than yourself, again, as a camping operator in Croatia or camping owner in Croatia, which is impossible to be present alone on all the markets.
Okay, so you're running your camps. They grow. All of a sudden, your partners that you went and you provided this new value, this glamping opportunity on their sites. They saw what you were doing. They decided, hey, we're going to do that also. You already proved the model, and they liked Igor's model, and they adopted that, right? So now you're at this point where you have to advance your business, somehow grow and evolve to be able to compete. So that's where this, was it a merger, an acquisition? What's the actual structure of how your company came into the overall umbrella of Vacanceselect?
It was an M&A, yes. It was a merger and acquisition, actually. Yeah. But the fact is that this group was also has several other brands, which are also present in Croatia. So they are not acquiring only us; they acquired also Select-Camp and Canvas Holidays. Now it's a Dutch tour operator, it's a British tour operator, and we merged all these capacities, and all these brands are still present in Croatia. But so that was like we sold the shares to the group.
And what was that? Was that a good feeling? Was that a happy? Was that, hey, I made it, this was successful? Or was it sad you're giving up control of this thing that you created?
Well, but no, it was okay, because we are still here, so we are still working for the company. We are actually two board members, which are former owners, and we are working as it's still completely ours. So we have to take care about the business, we have to take care about our accommodation, and especially about the people who are involved in the business. So we have the office which is running, we have the seasonal workers, we have the maintenance workers. So yes, we are employing 80, 90 people, throughout the season, but with all our external services, I think we are feeding about 200 families,
Yeah. Okay.
And which is quite a large number. So, yeah.
So the larger organization understands that you have that local area knowledge that's valuable, and that's what continues to add value to their organization.
I hope so.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, how, comparing that to the United States is very, very different. They're in kind of looking at different regions of the world. A lot of regions, you have sort of things that break up where people come from, where your guests come from. So you're talking about it's important to have different, basically, suppliers of your customers. So you have different partners that give you customers from different sources. Now, in the United States, things are a little bit different, especially right now. Our pandemic going on, people are definitely still going on vacations when they can, but they're not hopping on a plane. They're driving a couple hours from home. So maybe they'll drive 2 to 4 hours from home. It seems like that exists anywhere in the world. How do you find partners, and how do you balance those partners from those different regions or sources?
Yes,
And okay,
yeah,
yes,
to answer the markets and the people who are coming to our accommodation. So let's say you said 2 or 3 hours drive. Yeah, we have that, but we have also because the mobile home or the glamping camping units, it's actually the accommodation where the people are coming with their own cars. Okay, mostly. So they're not really flying, or the not many people flying, maybe from the Great Britain or whatever, but generally the people are coming with the cars, with the families, you know, with a lot of packages and everything, and with large families. And yeah, people are driving from Denmark, for example, or from Sweden, or and most of them for our accommodations are coming from Netherlands, you know, or the lands of Benelux and Germany, but it's even mostly the northern Germany. So actually some of them are driving for 16 hours, 18 hours to come over. A lot of them are making like a stopover and sleeping in Germany somewhere in some nice place, or in Austria. But they like it, you know, that way, and that's a tradition. You know, the Dutch people are actually they like so much this camping, glamping experience that they don't want to go to any other kind of accommodation. They don't like the hotels. They don't like buildings, apartments, or I don't know, luxury resorts. So they really like the nature. They really like glamping. They like to come over. And they don't care, you know, just sit in a car, put all the things in, go in to the campsite, and then what they do, they actually meet other people which are coming from the same country or neighboring countries. They make friends, you know. So the children are playing, because you know, the camping experience, it's really something that you can meet people in a different and really much more relaxed environment, especially comparing to some kind of hotel when you have to dress, you know, in the morning to go to breakfast and put your tie on and, you know, so on, you know, you are sitting on the terrace, you know, in your swimming suit and baking, I don't know, the sausage there. And the kids are playing around without any fear, you know, so, and they're meeting other kids, you know, they go together to the swimming pool. So, and the people meet, and actually that the next year they hear each other, they go together to the same camping or different camping, depends, you know. So they actually, you know, this community, it's very, very alive, and it's growing so every year. And it's something that, I don't know, in the hotel business you will not find so easily.
What is your average length of stay? And then as people come from further, do they stay longer? Is it more profitable to have people stay longer, or do you prefer shorter stays?
Yeah, let's say in Croatia, I can speak about some figures for Croatia. In Croatia, because logically in the last years, some things changed. So the average stay was longer before, but let's say that in the hotels you have a medium stay of 3 nights. You know, in the campsites, I think in Croatia it's between 6 and 7 nights. But let's say that the Dutch and the Danish are still coming for 2 weeks or even 3 weeks.
Okay, and is this only during holiday?
They have a really long stay. This reduced lately. So in the last few years, so the minimum stay was 3 weeks or even more. But now they probably are making some shorter breaks, you know, because of the airplane tickets, which were really cheap, you know, in the last 5-6 years or decade. So they're probably making some short breaks with the plane somewhere, and then the summer holidays are reduced a little bit. But I have to say, from these markets, we had an average stay between 11 and 12 days, which was, for us, it's quite okay. Yeah.
Okay, is it better to have longer stays, or what's the right balance of changing rooms?
Sure, it's better, because then, you know, you are sure that you will be with one client, you will fill, you know, and the accommodation, and you don't have to change to work to clean every 2-3 days, you know, for weekends and things like that. We still have that, but But let's say that the longer stay, it's better for us, for our organization, you know, and for our maintenance and everything. So you know, we like that kind of guest if it's possible to come over.
Does the current pandemic, does that influence how long people stay? Do you need a room in between, or how do you operate within the bounds of our global environment right now?
I didn't understand, because of the distances, or
yeah, or just with COVID-19 concerns.
Yeah,
do you
exactly.
need to space in between guests, or how has that changed your business model?
Yeah, that's, you know, that's the good thing of this kind of accommodation that we have, because actually, okay, logically depends campsite. You have somewhere you have a bigger pitch, larger pitch, or somewhere you have a smaller one, but you have a minimum of 100 square meters, you know, and the units are separated, so you can be, you know, between units you have 5, 4, 6, even 10 meters of distance. What is that, 30 feet or something like that, depends. And you are in nature, you are in open air, so it's completely different than staying in a closed environment like a hotel or a restaurant, or, you know, for breakfast. So yeah, so in the accommodation there are no issues, you know, of the distance. So that's really, if you want to stay, you have your own house, your own accommodation. They are not connected in any kind of way. Logically, we are taking care about all the health issues and all the health regulations that are implied from our Ministry of Health, you know, and so actually we all wear masks, we are cleaning the accommodations, we are having distance from the client, or even we don't even have to be in contact with the client. Depends, you know, we can just give him information, you can go to that accommodation and the key is waiting for you, and so on. We are actually performing a higher level of cleaning, you know, even the accommodation should be clean anyway, but we are disinfecting everything, and we are providing the disinfection, you know, the small sprays or whatever to each client which is coming into the accommodation unit. And also the receptions of the campsite, which are also registering the guests, they are all taking all the measures necessary to you know, to avoid the contamination, whatever. So, but actually, if you're asking this, I don't know how aware you are, but the Croatia, from the beginning of this pandemic, was one of the, I have to say, top European countries which managed to, let's say, contain this disease in a very good way. Actually, until today, we had maybe 200 deaths overall, you know, a little bit more than 200, which in some countries were daily deaths, you know, and so we were promoting our country as a COVID-free country, you know, especially in the month of end of May, beginning of June, when Italy and Spain and France, they were completely locked up. We already were open for tourists in the middle of June, and we started our touristic season, you know. At the end of the season, we had some small increase, but which was overall in all the countries. And but it's already finished now, so we are coming back at the smaller figures. But so we managed that very well, actually. And you know, even when we had, let's say, 500,000 or 800,000 tourists coming into Croatia from all the lands, you know, from Europe, which has quite higher rate of COVID-19, we still didn't have a huge increase of the cases.
And do you think that additional tourism increased rates in Croatia? Or?
Yes, probably yes, but because we were also testing the tourists, actually, logically, the ones who wanted. And but if I'm saying that we found, I don't know, 10 cases in one area, in one region, from that, in the top season, maybe we had 1 or 2 tourists which were positive, you know. Logically, we don't know if they came already, but most probably they didn't get it here. And let's say the figures now also today in our county here, we have only three positive cases, but nobody is actually having a fever or nothing. It's just they are positive, but you know, there are no people, or really a low number of people in the hospitals. You know, it's in the whole country. I think we are speaking about maybe 100, 200 people which are in the hospital because of the COVID complications.
Well, at least here, there's been a lot of behavioral change around what people will do, and people are staying closer to home. There's been massive increase in people doing things outdoors. Have you seen that there? And then do you think that is going to last after all of this is hopefully over?
Yeah, I think actually, and I think Kylie should show us that there was quite a high demand of the outdoor accommodation, and the people wanted to go outdoors instead of being, okay, when they were locked down, they should stay at home. But when we were starting to open, the people wanted to go out. We didn't want to go to some kind of closed, facilities. And if you see here the figures, and you will see worldwide actually that the word glamping or glamping tent rental, glamping tent, whatever, from the July 2012, you can see in the top table, which was Googled 550,000 times. In July 2020, was Googled the word glamping 1 million times, and it's almost double. And what is interesting, because I don't know exactly in the USA, that market, but it seems that there is an increase also in the US of the search of the glamping tent rental. I see it that here is almost double comparing to the same period of the last year. So it means something, I think, what you're saying. So it's. I think business-wise is also something that somebody should think. You see, we can do something here also for the future, and I don't see that this will go down in the future, because the people realized what this means. Especially when they tried it after that, and when they were experiencing their holidays outdoors, in some campsite, in some glamping tent or whatever, or some mobile home or whatever. So they experienced that, and I'm sure they like it, because I was talking to the people who did that for the first time, and they said it's an amazing experience. I said, I'm always going to the hotels, and this year I changed my mind. I tried to book a campsite, with a nice glamping tent or whatever. And it's fantastic. I will never go to the hotel again, so it's
interesting.
Yeah. It's so I'm not saying this because I'm working. I'm doing this because it's not only foreign people, it's also Croatians who are not traditionally camping guests. They did that, and they were amazed with this kind of structure, with this kind of facilities.
So even though glamping is quite new in the United States, it's not nearly as new in Europe, but it sounds like it's still growing. If you look at the business case of the United States, let's say, Igor, someone compelled you to come to the United States. We're showing you this chart right now that shows kind of the search trends of glamping. And we're just, especially within the United States, I know it's happening globally, but here in the US, things are just on a continuous upward slant of people looking for new outdoor opportunities, and a lot of people that typically wouldn't camp. But just for some numbers here, and Kaylee's showing a chart right now of kind of the incredible increase of searches for glamping and related words on the internet. But if we look at the actual market, so according to the U.S. Outdoor Industry Association, the outdoor recreation economy in America is responsible for over $887 billion of consumer spending, which is about 750 billion euros. And this is just about 19% of this is a result of camping. So we also have 331 million people. So we've got a lot of people in a lot of area. But when you hear those numbers, and you hear that in the United States, we really don't have many glamping opportunities. The average American, if you want to find somewhere to go glamping close to home, you might be able to find something. You might find a site or two, but it's not really an option for most Americans. Do you see that as opportunity? Do you see that? What's your prediction for the industry, and what do you see happening in the United States, given all of the trends and the consumer interest in glamping?
Well, now when I heard your figures, what you are saying actually, so I'm going to book a flight for United States tomorrow, and I'm going to open the business in United States. So if you can find me some accommodation, I don't know, some room or some pitch for a small tent, so I will bring it with. No, it's you have a humongous opportunity here to do something. Actually, you know, I'm looking only at our region. Okay, it's a little bit specific, but our county has 50% of capacities in the campsites. You know, 50 almost, and it's a huge number. We don't have so many hotels or private accommodations or villas, whatever, and there is still demand for it. And also, if I'm looking at our figures, comparing the mobile home accommodation, which is quite a success, you know, in the last 15 to 20 years. But the glamping units in Croatia, they're comparing to mobile homes, they're around 7-8% maybe, you know. So they're still, you know, 92% of let's say potential growth in the glamping sector only in Croatia, and that's why the figures I know. But here in US, you don't have to worry, and really now I know that you are doing this, so you're selling this type of accommodation. You have a humongous opportunity here to grow with your business, but also with somebody who wants to invest in this kind of business. I'm sure it has great potential here.
Well, so in about a couple minutes, and we'll jump into Q&A. But before we do that, anyone that's listening in live, if you want to have any questions that you'd like to ask, click on that Q&A button down at the bottom, or chat button, and send us a couple things. We'll try to address them.
Yep.
But before we jump into that, Igor, what do you see as the future of glamping? What is the next step in evolution? Are there certain trends that you're keeping an eye on? Are there technologies that are missing from the equation?
Well, yes, you know, there is always a development, you know, and it's interesting how this goes in the different directions, you know, because we also, I'm based in Croatia, but we also traveled all throughout Europe, and to see what the others are doing. And actually, you can see a glamping tent, as you said, in the camping, but you can see the glamping tent installed on the lake, you know, with the poles inside the water, or you can see the glamping tent in some woods or some mountains, whatever. So it's the same product, but within the product, inside the product, and yeah, you can see now some nice pictures of what are the possibilities. But inside the product, you can always improve, you know. We already have quite a high level of let's say facilities inside, and this one, as you see at the left, is fantastic. And so we have already quite a high level of facilities inside, as I told you before. We had an airco inside, we have a dishwasher, and all these technicalities. What we don't have, actually, it's a television set.
Interesting. And is that desired, or is that purposeful?
Yeah, that is desired, actually, to take people, especially children, away from the screens. I know that the people are going there with the mobile phone and with the laptops and with the tablets. It's a pity, because actually it would be great that you shut everything down and just enjoy your stay in the tent, you know, and actually enjoy that nature that is around you, and the sounds, and even the mosquitoes, but but you know what I mean. So to try to communicate within the family, to try to speak actually with your children, you know, to play with them, and to, I don't know, play some board games or things like that. So
in the booking system, will this be like smoking rooms, so you can check a box? No, I don't want a smoking room. I want a room with no TV, no technology room.
Yeah, that could be a future, actually. Yeah, the people, I'm quite sure that there are people who would like to detox from technology, you know, especially the people who are always on the screens, and the kids especially always on the screens. They don't have round eyes anymore. They are squared, you know. So it's It's a pity really, and you know, so but it was really a choice not to put the TV, almost at least the TV inside the glamping tent. The Wi-Fi is something that is, let's say, less and less necessary, but the campsites usually they have their Wi-Fi. But okay, it depends, but they're usually slow and they're not really useful. So, yeah. You know, which is quite okay. So the people are not really relying on that. But from the other side, you have hotspots on the phone, so you can do it again. But you know what I mean. So yeah, we are trying to provide a luxury accommodation. You know, when the people, let's say, you don't have to wash your dishes by hand. You have the machine for that. But from the other side, we are trying to provide the maximum level of leisure in a way that you can relax, that you can be, I don't know, in a calm environment, you know, not noisy, you know, and if it's possible to have as much space around you, or at least not to look at somebody in his plate, you know what I mean. So to let's say install, this is generally what I do, you know, on the field. I'm trying to install the accommodation, to make a small plan, you know, of the structure of the complete area, you know, how it will be settled, you know what I mean, so that the people really feel they have their own home, that they have their own unit, and they are not disturbed.
We've got about 10 minutes left, and I think there's probably about 15 topics that we could still get into that we haven't even scratched the surface of. But let's turn things back over to Kaylee, and Kaylee can kind of go through the Q&A, and we'll try to get some of the live audience answers.
We have many questions, so we cannot answer everything, but we will cover them after the webinar via the email for sure. But I got an interesting question. This is like, I'm not sure what the name is, but hi there, good evening. I would like to ask what would be optional units to build 5 or 10 or 10 to 20 units from Mr. Igor's experience. So maybe you could tell me more about what could be a perfect unit for a general campsite.
To start with, you think? Because, you know, so when we are entering into the new location, okay, so we started with 5 locations in Croatia, and then every year we added 1 or 2 or 3 new locations. So what was for us, and I'm talking now about my personal experience, business-wise, is to have at least 20 units, okay, in one location, to be able to have a personnel, you know, which will practically take care about this unit. So it's I'm calculating, but it's but you have to be aware that we have an organization already in place. So we are calculating one person, like a courier, and I suppose you know what like a representative who is taking care about 20 units. But what he does, he's actually receiving the guests, he's taking the guests to the accommodation, he's checking if everything is all right, he's, I don't know, taking in deposits, you know, and I don't know, filling in if it's something is missing with the inventory. And these guests can rely on this person that he's always there present and always available to provide them this kind of service. From the other side, we have the organizations who's taking care about the maintenance. So there's not one person for 20 units which is making a maintenance. Actually, there is a team of the people who they have their own cars and equipped with all the necessary tools. So they are going campsite to campsite and fixing the things. Actually, you have to be aware we have 1,200 units, which is actually, as you are having 1,200 apartments or your homes, you know, which something is always leaking somewhere, you know. So you have to fix things. And the third thing, it's the cleaning. Okay, when you have a huge changeover, and especially in the high season, you can have 10, 15 units which are changing in a day. Maybe Saturday until 10 in the morning, the people are going home and they are leaving their accommodation dirty, logically, and you have until the 3 or 4 in the afternoon, they have to be cleaned. So we are usually using some outsourcing service to do that. But again, if you want to start, I think 20 up to 25, 30 units, it's like an optimal number.
Okay, great, thank you. I think that will cover the question.
Yep.
Then I have a question, maybe it's a question for Jason. Let me check. How do customer approach building permits? And this is especially thinking for the US. And this is your specialist in that.
This is an interesting question. So I'm a recovering architect actually, and specialized in destination resort architecture and development for the first half of my career, operating in about 20 states across the United States. And I would say that almost every single jurisdiction that I've operated in is completely different. And it's amazing how many jurisdictions may be operating from the same code basis. They take the same building codes, add their changes, and just the behaviors of the people within the building department, how they treat things is incredibly different. Within that, you have additional layers of, your first level in most cases is going to be going through a planning department. So there's a couple pieces here. A building department might be happy with you putting up what they consider a semi-permanent or temporary accommodation that doesn't have a real foundation. Maybe it's not plumbed or other things that they don't classify it as a building. But at the same time, you may have a zoning department that considers it to be a zoning violation if you're operating lodging units on a piece of property that's not zoned for it. So, I mean, really the first step is get through your zoning, make sure that you're going to be able to do what you want to do with the zoning that you have. If not, you can go through the process of getting a letter or getting a conditional use permit or something else that's going to allow you to do what you want to with the land that you're leasing or that you've purchased or that you have. And next step, building department, you really have to get them on your side and you have to let them kind of coach you through the process. So in most cases, you're going to need them because the code doesn't actually tell you how to do glamping. It doesn't exist in the code. There are a small group of us that are talking about trying to work with ICC, and we've talked to a number of people about actually developing a code to be able to do this. A little bit tricky, but ultimately they're going to have to find exemptions or other reasons why you're not classified as a building and you don't have to meet all of the things that would just force you to build an entire building on your campsites. So I would suggest approach it carefully, go through, hear what other people have done. There are definitely different types of accommodations, temporary accommodations that exist in a lot of places where they already exist. If you can find examples of those close to your site, I take a look at National Park Service and other groups, especially federal groups that may have temporary accommodations that a local jurisdiction probably wouldn't accept. And if you can point to them and say, hey, National Forest Service, National Park Service, someone like this has this temporary accommodation or temporary structure, we would like to do the same thing. And here are all of the things that we're doing to make this a responsible installation and how we're going to manage it. Show them what it looks like. If it looks great, you seem professional. If you can get them to work with you, you'll find a way, and then try to document most of that so that later on, as staffing changes at the city or your jurisdiction, you have some sort of reference to show that at one point you got a yes.
Okay, great. I hope that will cover Brian's question, but thank you for the explanation. So we're running a little bit out of time, so last question is for Igor, I guess. When signing up for the webinar, they could also already ask questions. And one of them was, how do you do with seasonal business and do you have any year-round demand?
Yeah, year-round, it's actually a wish, but it's, the climate still didn't change enough to have the summer whole year. So actually, the camping business, it's outdoors, and yeah, we would like to have the clients all year round, but and actually there are campsites which they're open all year round in Croatia, but not much. I think now I know about 3 or 4 of them. Which is really not really, but the thing is, what they're going to do, because if you're going here in November, December, January, it's cold, so it's raining and the days are short, and yeah, it's not really something that you should do here, because the other things around are not really open. The restaurants are closed, the general facilities are closed. Also, the swimming pools, whatever, you cannot go outside because we have the temperatures in the winter time. It's not so cold. We are in the south of Europe, so let's say we have here in the north part of Croatia between, I don't know, during the day between 10, 15, 5, 10, 15 degrees Celsius. In the night could be also minus or 0, and it's quite cold to stay in the glamping tent, even in a mobile home.
Igor, would you say that also follows the activities in the area? So if you have amenities or activities in the area, whether it's fishing or skiing or something like that, that's drawing people, then you can have an open resort?
Exactly. The best campsites which worked this year in Croatia, with all this COVID situation, whatever were the campsites and accommodation which were nearby, something that is very, very attractive. Actually, we have the area on the south in Croatia, which is very attractive for windsurfers. Okay, so these areas, they had an increase of the clients. They made more turnover than last year, which is incredible because all the people, which maybe they were going somewhere else in Italy or France, whatever, they came to Croatia because we were COVID safe, I say, and we had an increase of this type of clients. But in general, all the coastline has a really lot of facilities, not only inside the campsite but also outside. And we have a very nice history, in Croatia. You can follow our history and also leisure history. More than 2,000 years ago, we started with the Romans, which has their own villas nearby the sea here in all these areas. So people, when they're coming, they are looking for all these kinds of experience. And it's actually they are the major points of attraction, the city with the histories, or we have now really nice aqua parks in the area, so people are coming also to see that, to enjoy that, for example. But we are also known as a region of very good wine. Let's say we have a region where also in the north for the truffles, very important. And the top, it's also our olive oil, which if you check for already several years, last 3 or 4 years, we are actually winning the top world prizes for our olive oil, So the Istrian and Croatian olive oil, it's the number 1 in the world. So if you want to enjoy, especially food and drink, so you're very welcome to come over.
Okay, perfect. Well, we're out of time. Thank you, Igor, so much for all your effort and your time and your explanation. I think our audience, it helps them definitely. And also, Jason, thank you very much. And thank you, of course, the audience from all over the world for joining our first webinar. If you have any tips, just let us know, because this is our first one and for sure we can do things better. You're more than welcome to visit our showroom in the Netherlands or stay at one of Igor's fantastic sites in Croatia. You can find more information at outstanding.com or from Igor's business at Vacanceselect or Adriatic-Kamp.com. Thank you so much for joining and hopefully see you next time. And in the Netherlands we say, misschien tot snel. And Igor, how's that in Croatian?
Do viđenja I vidimo se.
Perfect, thank you. Hope to see you next time. Bye.
Bye.